That big breakthrough on the massive $1 trillion infrastructure deal to pay for roads, bridges, and more. White House economic advisor Jared Bernstein joins us now to talk more about what made it into the bill at this stage and what didn't and what's ahead. Jared, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Terry. Pleasure to be with you.
So let's take a look. This deal includes $110 billion for new roads and bridges, $65 billion to expand broadband internet, $39 billion for public transit, and the president's emphasizing that all this spending will translate into jobs. So given that, and given that we still have, 6.8 million people unemployed who lost their jobs during the pandemic, what kind of specific expectations do you have for the jobs that this bill could create?
Well, whenever you're making historic investments in public transit, in passenger rail, in the largest investment in bridges since the construction of the interstate highway system, you mentioned broadband, electric vehicle infrastructure, including charging stations and electrifying thousands of school and transit buses across the country, you're going to create some jobs. Those jobs and infrastructure are often high value added. And by the way, it's a very important value of this president that those jobs apply labor standards. Many of them are going to be union jobs. So it's certainly going to involve good jobs getting these infrastructure projects stood up and into the economy. But also, these are projects that improve the economy's growth rate. It improves our productivity if we can get goods to market more efficiently. And if we create a path for people to get into the job market, if we create clean drinking water so kids can have a healthy experience from that perspective, that's going to have long-term economic benefits.
And that's always been the rationale for infrastructure spending. On the politics side, the news is how normal politically this bill is at this point. 17 Republicans voted with Democrats to advance this bill. I say it's normal. It's not anymore, but it used to be. However, it's still not a sure thing this is going to make it through final passage, in part because of progressive Democrats in the House who want more. How do you read the political situation?
One of the things that I've encountered is Republicans and Democrats constantly pulling me aside over the years and saying, we really want to do something on infrastructure, but we just don't have the leadership and we just don't have the plan. Well, that's what President Biden brought to town, the leadership to reach across the aisle. There were a lot of doubters who didn't think we'd get this far and get a bipartisan agreement, an historic one, 67 votes to close out debate on this. And to get to the second part of your question, I think the magnitude of that vote suggests real momentum. All I can tell you, look, I'm not a political nose counter, I'm an economist, but all I can tell you is that there are not just politicians on both sides of the aisle, but more importantly, there are American people that they very much want to see these investments. They want to see reliable, high-speed internet reaching them in rural communities. They want to see investments in electric vehicles so we can have cleaner water and cleaner air. And they certainly don't want to sit on broken highways and deal with the kinds of infrastructure deterioration we've seen.
This plan is less than a quarter of the big plan the president originally proposed back in March. A lot of the president's priorities didn't make it. Investments in child care and housing and clean energy. So now the Democrats are looking at including them in a massive $3.5 trillion budget package. We are seeing infighting around the size and scope of that. So among the things that didn't make it into the first deal, what do you think the president wants at the top of the list?
Yeah, great question. He's been pretty straightforward about that. He really wants to see his care agenda enacted, child care, elder care. You know, if you look around at the international economies, if you look at the advanced economies with whom we compete, they virtually all have accessible and affordable child and elder care systems compared to our own. Well, what does that mean? It means that families, and this is what the president cares most about, that families can take care of their kids, can safely take care of their elderly members and do so without breaking the bank. Well, that's really important for them and for basic fairness. But again, it's also important for our economy because it creates a pathway into the labor force for people who don't have that kind of access and affordability. Education, okay? Investing in both universal pre-K and 2 years of free community college, that's also been something that's always been extremely important to this president. And if you put those all together with along along with some of the more ambitious climate measures in what's going to take shape as the reconciliation package. There you see a set of programs that are once again designed to increase the economy's capacity, its productivity, its labor supply, ultimately its growth and its benefit to working Americans.
Well, today, new numbers are out on U.S. economic growth between April and June. And they are below estimates. The market was expecting higher. They showed the economy grew at an annual rate of 6.5%. That's big, but forecasters were expecting about 8%. Supply chain issues, I guess, seem to be constraining growth. Still trending upward, though. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, it looks like. But you're the economist. How's the administration reading today's report?
The U.S. economy has now made up the losses of the last 18 months and surpassed pre-pandemic GDP level. That is, GDP is now back and slightly above the level that it was before the crisis. Now, if you look back a year ago, forecasters from the CBO to pretty much, the IMF, the OECD, any forecaster you could find was telling us it's going to take 2 years to get back to where we got back to in about 1 year. This president's rescue plan with shots in arms and checks in pockets cut the time in half in terms of getting that recovery back online. 3 million new jobs since he's taken office. So we see this report with the fastest growth rate in almost 4 decades to be a very clear endorsement of the growth impact of these policies. And I think, in my view, by the way, yes, certainly helping people with unemployment insurance and stimulus checks has been really important. But getting that vaccine program out there so people can safely re-engage with commerce, that's probably been one of the most important economic and health interventions we've made.
And with the Delta variant surging, still so critical for people to get their vaccinations if they can find a way to persuade themselves to do it. Jared Bernstein, thanks very much, as always, for helping us out.
My pleasure, Terry.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.